In 1980, the United States government published its first official dietary guidelines for the American people. The message was simple: fat is killing you. Cut the fat. Replace it with carbohydrates. Americans listened. The food industry responded. Within a decade, supermarket shelves were lined with low-fat everything. Low-fat yogurt, low-fat salad dressing, low-fat cookies, low-fat ice cream. Americans ate less fat than at any point in the previous century. And then something unexpected happened. Americans got fatter. Heart disease didn't go away. Type 2 diabetes rates climbed. Obesity became an epidemic. The dietary advice that the United States government gave to every American citizen for 50 years was based on science that had been purchased, not influenced, not nudged, purchased, and the documents that prove it sat in an archive for nearly half a century before anyone found them. To understand what happened, you have to go back to 1954. In 1954, a Minnesota physiologist named Ansel Keys published a paper arguing that dietary fat, specifically saturated fat, caused heart disease. The theory was called the diet-heart hypothesis. Keys was a compelling figure. He appeared on the cover of Time magazine. He testified before Congress. He became the most influential nutritional scientist in America. His evidence, a study of 7 countries showing a correlation between fat consumption and heart disease rates. But there was a problem with the 7-country study. Keys had data from 22 countries. He published 7. The 15 countries he left out did not fit the pattern. Other researchers noticed. A British nutritionist named John Yudkin published a competing theory. Yudkin argued that the real culprit wasn't fat, it was sugar. His evidence was substantial. His methodology was sound. His conclusion was clear. Sugar was driving the heart disease epidemic, not fat. The sugar industry read Yudkin's research very carefully, and then they decided to do something about it. In 1964, an industry group called the Sugar Research Foundation was monitoring scientific developments that threatened their business. Internal documents recovered from archived industry records and published in JAMA Internal Medicine in 2016 show the Sugar Research Foundation discussing what they called their Project 226. The goal of Project 226 was specific: find scientists willing to publish a review of the existing research on sugar, fat, and heart disease, frame the review to support the fat hypothesis and undermine the sugar hypothesis, pay them to do it. The scientists they found were not obscure researchers at a minor institution. They were Harvard. D. Mark Hegsted was a professor of nutrition at Harvard University. Frederick Stare was the chairman of Harvard's Department of Nutrition. These were not fringe figures. They were the establishment. They were the people whose opinions shaped American nutritional policy. And in 1967, paid by the Sugar Research Foundation, they published a 2-part review in the New England Journal of Medicine. The conclusion: fat caused heart disease. Sugar was not a significant factor. The review was presented as independent scientific analysis. The funding source was not disclosed. In 2016, Kristin Kearns, a researcher at the University of California, San Francisco, found the documents in the archives of the Harvard School of Public Health. She found the letters. She found the payment records. She found the correspondence between the Sugar Research Foundation and the Harvard scientists. She found the internal Sugar Research Foundation minutes discussing which scientists to approach, what conclusions they wanted, and how much to pay. The Sugar Research Foundation paid the equivalent of roughly $50,000 in today's dollars to get the result it needed. Hegsted didn't just take the money. Hegsted later became the head of nutrition at the United States Department of Agriculture, and in 1977 he was the lead author of the first federal dietary guidelines recommending Americans eat less fat. The man paid by the sugar industry in 1967 to blame fat wrote the government document in 1977 that told Americans to eat less fat. That is not a coincidence. That is a pipeline. The 1980 dietary guidelines told Americans to cut fat and replace it with carbohydrates. The food industry was not slow to respond. Removing fat from food makes it taste terrible. The food industry knew this. Their solution was sugar. When they removed fat, they added sugar to compensate for the lost flavor. Low-fat yogurt contained more sugar per serving than a candy bar. Low-fat salad dressings were loaded with high-fructose corn syrup. Low-fat cookies, muffins, crackers, all of them replacing the fat that the guidelines had condemned with the exact substance that John Yudkin had warned about 20 years earlier. And the results were exactly what Yudkin had predicted and Hegsted had been paid to obscure. Between 1980 and 2000, the percentage of Americans who were obese nearly doubled. Type 2 diabetes rates increased dramatically across the same period. Heart disease did not respond to the reduction in dietary fat the way the theory predicted. The diet-heart hypothesis, the scientific framework the Sugar Research Foundation had paid Harvard to promote, was not delivering the results it had promised because the hypothesis was wrong. Sugar, not fat, was the primary driver of the metabolic conditions that were killing Americans. Yudkin had been right. Here is what happened to Yudkin. When he published his work connecting sugar to heart disease in the 1960s and 1970s, the sugar industry attacked him systematically. They funded scientific rebuttals. They pressured journals not to publish his research. They described his work as a mountain of nonsense. The phrase "a mountain of nonsense" came from Ansel Keys, the same Keys whose 7-country study, the Sugar Research Foundation, was simultaneously funding research to support. John Yudkin's scientific reputation was destroyed in his lifetime. His 1972 book, Pure, White and Deadly, went out of print and was largely forgotten. He died in 1995 without seeing his vindication. The vindication came anyway. It just came too late for the people who ate low-fat food for 50 years. The 2016 paper by Kristin Kearns and her colleagues was published in JAMA Internal Medicine, one of the most prestigious medical journals in the world. It included direct quotes from the Internal Sugar Research Foundation documents. One internal memo from 1964 described the sugar industry's concern about emerging research and their intention to commission a review that would refute the anti-sugar science. Not evaluate, not investigate, refute. They knew what conclusion they wanted before they hired the scientists. The lead author of the 2016 paper wrote, "The documents we examined suggest that the sugar industry sponsored a research program in the 1960s and 1970s that successfully cast doubt about the hazards of sucrose, while promoting fat as the dietary culprit in CHD, coronary heart disease, the condition that has been the leading cause of death in America for most of the last century." D. Mark Hegsted, the Harvard scientist who took the Sugar Research Foundation money and later wrote the federal dietary guidelines, died in 2009. He was never charged with anything. Academic misconduct standards in the 1960s did not require disclosure of funding sources. What he did was legal. What it produced was 50 years of dietary advice, based on purchased science, advice that reshaped what Americans ate, what the food industry produced, and what the federal government recommended. The low-fat dietary guidelines were updated in 2015. For the first time, the official recommendation no longer set an upper limit on total fat consumption. The science had finally caught up to what John Yudkin had been saying in 1972. But the food environment that 50 years of low-fat guidance created did not disappear when the guidelines changed. The habits formed. The products remained. The obesity rates did not reverse. Here is what the Sugar Research Foundation understood in 1964 that took the scientific community decades to acknowledge. Whoever controls the foundational research controls the dietary guidelines. Whoever controls the dietary guidelines controls what Americans eat. Whoever controls what Americans eat controls one of the largest consumer markets on Earth. They didn't falsify data. They didn't manufacture evidence. They found scientists willing to conduct a biased review and paid them enough to make it happen. They let the peer review system, which assumed good faith from all participants, do the rest. The document was peer-reviewed. The journal was prestigious. The authors were Harvard professors. And none of that was enough to catch a conflict of interest that wasn't disclosed. John Yudkin was right. He was destroyed for being right. He died without vindication. Ansel Keys was wrong. He was celebrated for being wrong. He died with a Time magazine cover. The Sugar Research Foundation got 50 years of federal dietary policy, pointing away from their product. For roughly $50,000, in 2016, when the JAMA Internal Medicine paper was published, the Sugar Association, the successor to the Sugar Research Foundation, released a statement. They said the 1967 review was limited in scope and that they could not comment on documents from 50 years ago. They said they now encourage transparency in research funding. They did not apologize. They never apologize. There is a simple question at the center of all of this. How much of what you believe about nutrition, about what is healthy, and what will kill you, is based on science, conducted in good faith by researchers with no financial stake in the outcome? And how much of it was shaped by an industry that understood 50 years before most scientists did that the research was the product? The documents are public. The JAMA paper is public. The Sugar Research Foundation archives are accessible. The answer has been sitting in a university archive since 1967. Kristin Kearns found it in 2016. You know it now.